Hello and welcome back to the Biochemistry for Health Sciences channel. In today's video, we shall discuss sodium transport proteins. In the last video, we discussed the ADME of sodium, basically the absorption, distribution, metabolism, as well as excretion of sodium. This is the life story of sodium. This is what we start off the videos with when we discuss the various analytes, the various chemicals that we measure as part of our comprehensive metabolic panel. This is the lab test that we routinely do. And one of the most important things that we need to understand when we look at sodium is why does our blood sodium level go down? Or why would the blood sodium level go up? Hyponatremia as well as hypernatremia. Before we discuss hypo as well as hypernatremia, we shall look at some topics related to sodium. Much of these background that we'll discuss in the next few videos will help you better understand these two very complex areas of hyponatremia as well as hypernatremia. So in this video, we'll look at sodium transport proteins. The next video, we'll look at sodium as well as other taste receptors. In video 9.20, we'll look at sodium and its association with water. And then in 9.21 to 9.27, in these videos, we'll look at the effect of blood volume as well as osmolality of the blood, the changes in blood volume and blood osmolality on the ADME of sodium and water. And after that, we'll discuss hyponatremia and hypernatremia. There are many different types of transport proteins for sodium that are found in the various cell types. So let's look at a few examples. So one of the most important proteins involved in sodium transport, of course, is the sodium-potassium ATPase pump. Because this is a pump, this requires ATP energy. And this pump basically pumps out sodium out of the cell, pumps potassium into the cell. So by pumping sodium out of the cell, it basically keeps the concentration of sodium in the cell at very, very low levels. So this creates a sodium gradient across the plasma membrane where the sodium concentration inside the cell is very low while the sodium concentration outside the cell is very high. So this is what the sodium-potassium pumps do using energy. They create a sodium gradient across the plasma membrane of the cell. Now then we have the other sodium transport proteins, and these sodium transport proteins now will allow the sodium to enter the cell because the concentration gradient, remember there's a high sodium outside the cell and a low sodium inside the cell. So without any energy required, these transport proteins will allow sodium to enter the cell. And this entry of sodium into the cell may be coupled to other transport processes. So for example, the sodium-dependent chloride co-transporter will bring in not only sodium into the cell, but also chloride into the cell. So this NCC transport protein will help bring into the cell sodium as well as chloride using the sodium concentration gradient. The protein called sodium-dependent glucose transporter, or SGLT. This protein will use the concentration gradient not only to bring in sodium, but more importantly to bring in this very important fuel molecule required for energy generation, and this is glucose. Proteins called sodium-dependent amino acid transporters. As the name suggests, these proteins not only bring in sodium, they use the sodium concentration gradient to bring in various amino acids. Then we have the protein sodium-dependent potassium chloride co-transporter. This protein brings in not only sodium, but also potassium as well as chloride. And then we have proteins such as the sodium-dependent calcium exchanger, NCX. This protein brings in sodium to the cell while at the same time pumping calcium out of the cell. The sodium-dependent hydrogen exchanger transport protein. This transport protein brings sodium into the cell and pumps protons out of the cell, while the sodium-dependent magnesium exchanger, NME, brings sodium into the cell and sends magnesium out of the cell. And then we have these transport proteins for sodium, these sodium channels such as the voltage-gated sodium channels, NAV channels, as well as the non-voltage-gated sodium channels such as the epithelial sodium channel or ENaC. These channels can open and close based on environmental factors or changes in voltage. And by opening and closing, they can allow sodium to enter the cell at specific times. So several of these transport proteins we saw played a very important role, for example, in the absorption from the GI tract, as well as reabsorption of various chemicals from the kidney tubules. So example we saw was in video 9.17 when we discussed the life story of sodium, the absorption, distribution, metabolism, as well as the excretion of sodium. So we'll come across these transport proteins in many future videos too. So this is a little bit about the sodium transport proteins. Want you to be familiar with some of these names. In the next video, we'll look at another related topic to sodium, and that is sodium taste receptors. So until the next video, thank you very much for watching and supporting this channel. Have a wonderful day, and we'll see you in the next video.